All right, let's go ahead and use our TI graphing calculator to conduct a hypothesis test about a population mean where we know the population standard deviation. So this is a stats class. Our favorite button is the stat button. We are conducting a hypothesis test, so we arrow over to tests. Because we know the population standard deviation, we are going to use a Z-test. When we know the population standard deviation, then the sampling distribution of the means is a normal or a Z distribution, Z distribution. So that's what we're going to use. So go ahead and hit enter, 1. We did not put our data into lists. We are not asking our calculator to find the mean and the standard deviation and the sample size based on a whole bunch of stuff we typed in. We are using stats that were provided to us. So arrow on over to that stats button, hit enter. Now we're going to scroll through and we're going to enter those stats that are given to us in the problem. So mu naught, that's that first thing we put there. That's the mean in our null hypothesis. In the problem that we have, our null hypothesis is that the valve performs to specifications. It has a mean pressure of 6.2 psi. So mu naught, the mean for our hypothesis, our null hypothesis is 6.2. Enter or arrow down, doesn't matter. Sigma is the population standard deviation. Our problem tells us assume the population standard deviation is 0.9 psi. There we go. X bar is the sample mean. That is the mean we get when we go out and we take our engines and we find the psi from each of the engines and we find an average. Our problem tells us that the valve was tested on 170 engines and the mean pressure was 6.4 pounds per square inch. That's X bar, our sample mean. N is our sample size. How many engines did we test? Well, that was 170. Now we come down here, and this is going to be whatever we said in our alternative hypothesis. Our alternative hypothesis. Is there sufficient evidence at the 0.01 level that the valve performs above the specifications? Does our mean for our sample indicate that the population of these valves is actually greater than mu naught, the specifications provided? So greater than mu naught. Arrow down to draw. And there we have it. This is our hypothesis test, which we will interpret in the next slide.